The Skull and Bones open beta is here. Or, at least, it was here. As of recording this and uploading, the open beta isn't running anymore, but the game is almost out, which is good. Up until this point, in both the closed beta and the open one that was just running, I've been doing all the traditional things that a pirate does. I've been sailing the seas and shooting down ships for their loot. But I decided that this time around, since there's no time limit, I wanted to do other things in Skull and Bone. I wanted to go treasure hunting. I wanted to go around exploring islands, seeing what kind of loot you can find on the islands. And if I could not only be a part-time pirate, but also a part-time treasure hunter, and balancing law school. So, maybe I can take on all 3 jobs in this video. I know I can do 2 of them, so let's see about the 3rd one. And I'm not going to tell you which one I'm not doing right now. But before I can set sail on some islands for treasure, I have to go back to St. Anne, where I'm greeted by a cheering crowd, which I'm pretty sure are the same people who were actually yelling at me when I first landed at St. Anne. I look at the carpenter to see if I can upgrade my tools, but I can't. So, since there's nothing St. Anne can offer me, it's time to head back onto the high seas. The first time I go onto the seas, it's pretty peaceful, since leaving St. Anne. And there's a small little battle in the distance around the giant sleep region, which is always happening. So, I take a picture for posterity. Although this might be the most uneven battle in the world. It's like 4 ships against 1. I don't even know how it's allowed. I sail through the little narrow straits, and I find a copy of my ship in the distance, who's plundering this fort, and also just hanging out with me, with that guy ahead of me. You know, there's a lot of ships like mine. I should probably get a new one. I come across an abandoned island, or at least an undiscovered one. One of the same ones I explored back in the closed beta, way back when. I pick up a leaflet, which is just a little bit of lore, and I take on a quest. For the first time, doing something that's not pirate related. Heading deeper into the actual island itself, I find a trader who doesn't have a whole lot to offer, although she's really enthusiastic about meeting again. I mean, maybe I'll come for that shark. Who knows? I completely forgot that I actually had armor to equip with my ship, so even though this is an abandoned island with no dockyard, I'm somehow able to equip it, and I set back on the sails, finding one of the guard towers that thankfully is not hostile, and finding a hidden waterfall cave, but with no loot. So, that's disappointing. In fact, now that I think about it, I wonder if this entire swamp is like Shrek's in the movie. I mean, there's nothing here, so it might make sense. Once I leave Shrek's swamp and I go out into the actual open seas, I find an enemy company ship that I need to take down for a quest. He attempts to ram me, but doesn't really work out for him, and I hit the weak spots of those little red parts just in time to board him. And wow, those are some really long hooks. Stretchy too. The boarding actually gets me some decent bonus loot, and I'm really grateful that French warship in the distance very casually did not see me do that. I don't even want to know what would have happened if he had spotted me. But you know what, who cares? I shoot him down anyway. In fact, he's a lot easier of a hit than I thought he'd be. I mean, that one ram took him down so much I was able to board him in 1 shot. And when I board him, I get even more bonus loot, including some tobacco and a little bit more silver, which, as you can see, I pretty desperately need, you know, for clothing. I don't know how in every single one of these episodes I always keep ending back at the cosmetic shop and spending like all my silver there. I mean, realistically, where am I even storing all these clothes? And that just removes everything. Nope, I never was one for tattoos. So, I don't think that's a right fit for me. Get it fit? I actually just thought of that as I was recording this, that's funny. Once I'm in some new digs, I go back on the docks, so the Red Isle, and find those same people there. Honestly, this is a great catwalk. If there was like a pirate fashion show, I think I'd do great. Once I'm back on board, I go ahead and equip some new cannons onto my ship, which I've upgraded from the previous ship to a new one, called the Hulk. Once I put all my furniture on there and deck out my sails with some brand new stuff, and realize I have no new ship wheels, I head back to St. Anne, because I kind of forgot something. You know, the person who actually runs this place. Hey, even he notices I have a new ship. That's pretty cool, actually. That's a neat feature with this game. I accept a new contract from Skurlog and head over to the bounty board, where I accept quests that I definitely cannot take on at this point. They have some decent loot, but I can't take on those boss ships yet. I take on a few smuggling jobs instead, which are much easier for me, and head out to do just that. Set on the high seas and smuggle. Kind of, if this ship would go any faster. Once we're near one of the French ports, I find that they have the items I'm looking for, specifically some French ale. And taking out a few ships aren't bad, but the big problem is this is right next to a French fort. So, I'm not exactly afforded the great opportunities I would be normally. And I miss all those hooks and hitting islands. This fort raid is not exactly going the way I thought it would. Although those stretchy hooks help me out once again and get some more bonus loot. Whoever is my hook guy, I should pay him more, because wow, they are really stretchy. With those ships out of the way, I go ahead and start plundering the fort of Giron, where I actually have no idea how to raid a fort, and it shoots up a flare. What that does, I have no idea. I kind of figure shooting at it would help the progression of the plundering go along, but I don't think it actually does anything. If anything, all it does is attract more enemy ships to me. But I'm getting pretty handy at plundering and hitting these enemy ships head on, and less so actually getting some successful hooks on them. So I just sink this guy instead, and this guy. 2 for 2. Once I clear out all the enemy ships, the progression bar for this plundering raid continues on, and I fire a few shots right into that house, which is conveniently cannon-proof. Unlike this ship. I'm really glad the ships aren't cannon-proof, because that'd be very awkward. I actually love that, like, these ships are doing little drive-bys, and they're all failing. Luckily, the plunder is eventually completed, and once I loot the little boat out in the sea, my crew takes everything that Giron was worked for, including this random barrel or box of bottles. I didn't know they had. Once I've acquired all the ale I need, and a lot more than I could ever want, I go ahead and set sail for another settlement off in the distance, the Fonderie Royale. But this one's a little bit more powerful for my taste than I would have liked, so instead of plundering it, I just look at my spyglass and say what's up. Cool little cross too. I like that they actually decked the place out. That's nice of them. A lot better than Giron. In fact, they even have a guard tower in here. It's even cooler. Since I have nothing else of worth out of these French ships and French ports, I head out back to St. Anne and casually smack myself right into another island. And also, there's this neat little stone arch. Actually, a really cool screenshot. I find myself back where Barack O'Brien is apparently a pirate, and find myself back in my little cheering crowd back at St. Anne. And Skurlock is even cheering me on too, telling me that the French are gonna start fearing me, so long as they don't see me smashing into islands. I somehow fail a contract that I never actually attempted and can take it back up again, which is great, I guess no punishment for failure. And I zoom back out to the map to see my next target, and head back on board my ship, ready to set sail again. Where I find these two dudes just kind of looking at each other, assuming they're in like a squad together. It'd be weird if they're not. I pass by a destroyed fort, I think, and find a bunch of fire ships that are already damaged themselves. I don't know what kind of fight they got themselves into. I'm not really going to complain though, because that just makes my life even easier. And even though the wind is directly in the face of my sails, luckily my cannons don't really care about where the wind is. So I'm able to shoot down the ship to my side, while the ships all around me are already at pretty damaged health. Even though this ship is really high up, I'm somehow able to hit it, I think. Maybe. Let's go around for another one. See if my stretchy hooks can win us another victory. Oh, they popped a flare. Never mind. Why are there flares in this game? What is this, Rainbow Six Siege? Rather than boarding that vessel and keep trying unsuccessfully, I decide just to sink it. Although that problem with that flare, which for some reason the Far has, means it just attracts even more ships. And at this point, I'm fighting like a 1v6 in the high seas. A little bit of a ram on this ship and throwing some fireballs or Molotov cocktails right at him, explodes in a fiery burst and does no damage to my ship, which is very surprising. At this point, I think I'm fighting the entire Far fleet and casually hit this Sea People ship, which I did not want. This guy is even trying to ram me, and at the exact last second, I managed to shoot him down. The irony is I don't actually need to fight this Sea People ship, kind of just got caught in the crossfire. So instead of doing that, I attacked this other ship instead. And speaking of attacking, you can consider attacking, in a friendly way, the subscribe button down below. Last time I said that if you say the phrase, hit the subscribe button, apparently it's supposed to like light up or do something. I don't know. I didn't actually bother to check, so let's do it again. Hit the subscribe button. And also consider liking this video and checking out everything else in the channel. As you can see, if you're here, or if you're new, I absolutely love Skull and Bones, and I think this is like my 5th or 6th video I've put out in it. So if you like Skull and Bones, hang out in the channel, hit that subscribe button, and see all the other Skull and Bones videos I have. Or if you don't like Skull and Bones, there's plenty of non-Skull and Bones content out there that could use your view. So, once again, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and stick around. Let's see if that subscribe button thing actually worked. Unlike, you know, me hitting all these islands on my ship. Once we're headed back into the Far Fleet battle, which is somehow still raging on, I'm able to once again attack another ship, bringing it down to exploding smithereens. And again, I'm really surprised that somehow none of this damages my ship. I feel like a ship absolutely blowing the f up next to me should do something. But once I battle like half the Far Fleet and head back to St. Anne, I go ahead and craft some new cannons at the blacksmith, which are just an upgraded version of the ones I already have, but every little bit of firepower could help, as we obviously saw from that giant fleet battle that started with like 2 ships, went to 7. I go ahead and land on a nearby island, which is apparently a sunken gold mine, and I head all the way up to the very top of the island where I pick up a letter detailing something about hidden relics on this island. Maybe now is the time where I can finally transfer from being a pirate to a treasure hunter. I see that there's a rope, but apparently I lack the upper body strength to climb up it, so instead I'm forced to walk around inside the camp. The Ungwana leader doesn't really have too much for me except for a little bit of lime, and also these ornate pistols just lying around for me to take, and apparently no one cares that I take them, or that I'm taking a screenshot of this amazing view. I mean, god, this island is actually pretty beautiful. This guy apparently has a problem with the fact that I have a new face, I think. And I head up to find the pirate bonfire at the very top of the island, which I actually found, conveniently, back in the closed beta too. And a thumbnail about it also. I go ahead and throw some powder into there, which gives me extra stamina regeneration for about 20 minutes once I leave the island. And I open up the cache on the island, which just kind of serves like a mobile warehouse. Amazing that they're bringing like 2 tons of equipment just on every island. That's pretty cool. Also, more nice scenery. As I'm sailing out of the bay of that cool little island, I come across a bunch of like little atolls or islands that I can't really land on, but are pretty interesting. So I can navigate around them and kind of see what's on them, including that little tower in the distance, and an entire Ungwana settlement called Bandari. Find a trade route, but not exactly in a plundering mood. So I head around that island and instead find what's apparently a poacher's island, and I don't know what I just hit. While I'm on side this island called the Poacher's Cache, I'm able to dig up my first treasure chest, considering I was actually looking at my map this whole time and knew there was a treasure here. So, for the first time outside of a quest mission, I managed to magically have this chest appear from the ground and dig with my hands like this is like Minecraft. And open up the chest to find a lot of silver, some equipment, and a giant ship hull. I would love to see the guy who managed to put a giant ship hull in a treasure chest that size. I find another pirate bonfire to really double down on the stamina regeneration of my crew, and to celebrate the fact that they're going to be carrying an entire ship hull in my ship's hull. I don't even know how that works. Once I head further up on the island, I pick up a newspaper that they have for some reason, which is just complaining about the fact that the pirates are hanging around in the East Indies. As if I didn't know that already. There's a compagnie officer on the island itself who his actual label says he's corrupt, which makes sense because he's selling French pistols to a pirate. So I go ahead and buy all the loot and goodies he has and embark off this island, which was very profitable. And I can go ahead and add Treasure Hunter to my resume now. As I'm leaving, for some reason I think it's a good idea to fight this massive French warship, and wow, it's really not. I have to spend like 10 minutes or so looping and kiting around this French warship as he just fires mortars off the sides of my ship. And what's even worse is I can't even get within range to board him. So I'm forced to sink him and miss out on that bonus loot. I'm across the nearby island of Fort Louis, where I find another corrupt compagnie officer. It's incredible that just like those little caches on each island, there's a corrupt officer on each one too. I find a merchant ship that apparently is asking for an escort to one of the lumber yards that's nearby St. Anne, and it helps me out since I'm going that direction anyway. There are some enemy privateers who end up attacking the enemy ship, but I'm able to successfully divert them away, and I'm even able to board an enemy pirate ship itself, which is interesting. Although the game complains that apparently I'm protecting the merchant too well, and that I'm out of range, almost like this is an Assassin's Creed mission. Shout out if you guys remember those missions. I hated them. I completely forget that the clan of Farah is kind of hostile to the sea people, and kind of let the merchant ship get destroyed. So, while I don't get all my silver and loot from that, at least I can get a little bit of loot from destroying this Farah ship. Not as much, but I think it's fair compensation, considering they're the ones who maybe missed out on all that loot to begin with. Now he can know what it's like to get destroyed. There are 2 more Farah ships and this company ship hanging out. Didn't know they were friends. And this time my stretchy hooks aren't enough. So I decided to let that ship be, considering I have like 2 and 3 skulls of danger on my front, what the hell am I saying? On my UI, and I head back to the high seas, where I need to get some more equipment to satisfy a contract for St. Anne, called Supply and Demand, which is very fitting, being a pirate, but the seas themselves in this specific part are pretty foggy. So once I've gotten all my loot, I head back to St. Anne, get into first person, and dock to safety. I'm really glad that my little lemur friend was with me throughout all of these attacks, and showing off my rings. What is this, a Super Bowl? As a little bit of flamingos fly over the main mast of my ship, I land back, say hello to my little cheering section at the front, and I can cross off treasure hunter on my resume again.